Hi, welcome back to Paw Creations tutorial videos, and here is another session of our Zoom beading circle class. We're going to show how to bead beaded sandals with some size 11 cut beads, leather, and a simple pair of sandals. Size 12 beading needles, size D 9mm beading thread. So I cut the leather in a strip that's going to fit just around the strap of the sandal, and it will start there, but I need it to just fit just around the edges and cut it so that the stretchy side is not is on the long way. So I'm going to get my needle through there. And then I'm going to get the amount of beads I need to go across, and in this case this strap took 9 beads. So when I do my thing, I'm going to go on the outside in, so I'm overlapping to get that first row there. So I'm going to, when I overlap that from the outside in, and then I want to be back out on the outside, so I'm going to go from the inside out to be in the position to put the next row on. So I'll always be putting my rows on from the outside. Now begin the score stitch. So put on 2 beads. It'll go all the way up here, but I'm going to do a little bit before I push it down there. It's be easier to get to. So go back down. So I have my 2 beads on. Go back down to 2. And then back up through those 2. And that's the beginning of my score stitch. Let's just pull those beads together. That's the beginning of my second row. So, and I have those stitches because I want to be on the outside to get those stitches right, and it'll be overlapping. So 2 more beads. So if you see the stitches and you want to make sure they're in a straight line and they're even. So I'm going to go back down through 3. So I cut 3 of the first row. So now I'm going to catch 1 of the previous beads I put on, and then the 2 I just put on. So I'm going back up through 3. 2 more beads on. I'm going to go down. I'm going to catch 2, the next 2 beads, and then 1 of the previous. So I'm going back down through 3. And then on the other row, I'm going to catch 1 of the previous beads and then go back up through the 2 that I just put on. So that's how I do the score stitch, and that's how it's going to go all the way down the strap. So now I have 9 beads on here, so I have 1 extra that I need to get in there. So I put that 1 bead on, and I'm going to go back through 2 just to secure it good. To that first row. And then go back up through 2. And that will finish my second row of beads. And now I want to overlap my over to connect it to the leather. So I'm going to go from the outside in, and I'm going to go to it at a slant because I want that overlap, and then I'm going to go to a slant to be in the position to start my next row, and then I will go from the inside out right where I want it. So now I'll show how to put that middle part in. This is what the beadwork will attach to. I'm going to cut that little strip to fit right around the toe piece, and then I'm just going to flap over the top of it. I'm going to show you the stitch that I'm going to use to attach that to the toe piece. I'm going to show you on this piece of leather just so you can see it better. But I'm going to go just a back and forth stitch that will pull these two sides together. When it pulls it together, then they'll lay flat, and then there won't be a seam or anything sticking out to irritate the foot on the inside. So it's just a back and forth stitch under, through, over the top, pulls it together. So that's the stitch I'm going to use when I put this on the toe piece. I'll wrap my leather around. So I put my needle through one side and then make it go behind the toe piece and then back through my leather again. So then I'll have it on both sides of the toe piece to start sewing it up the inside of that. So I got it to fit just right, so it'll just be snug up and lay flat. So I just start that back and forth stitch. Can't get in there with my fingers, so kind of tight fit for my fat fingers. Alright, so I'm just going to keep going back and forth. And that's going to just pull that tight together, and it will lay flat. And sew it all the way to the top. And then we're going to get that flap to fit all the way over to cover up that middle part. So make sure we get it where we want it, and then we're going to trim it down. And I cut mine round so it fit in the space I wanted in. And then I'm going to use that same stitch to put that flap over the top and attach it to the leather that I put up over the toe piece. I'll pull that back out and real quick and put some Gorilla Glue in there, just a little bit. Just want to keep that in place, so I'm going to be attaching the beads to that middle piece, so I kind of want it to stay in place. So, and then I'm going to use that same stitch to attach that flap to the center toe piece. So my beadwork is done all the way to the center, and I'm going to trim that down and get it right even with the beadwork. And I'm going to start decreasing my beadwork down to 1 so it will fit right onto that. And then I'm going to attach it to the middle piece. So I'm going to trim that down so it will fit right up next to it. Trim it on the inside so it fits right up. And then I'm just going to sew that, attach it now to the middle piece. So I'm going to through my beadwork, and then I'm going to keep that, do that same stitch to the back side. And just keep sewing it together all the way to the around the back side, and then I'm just going to burn that off right there. And that's one side. Work to the center. And then now to do the other side, I will start with the 1 bead, and then I'm going to start increasing, and I will increase as I go. And attach the beadwork right to the centerpiece as I'm starting the beadwork, so I won't have to come back and do it later. I already sewed the back side to the middle, to the center part, using that same stitch. So I'm going to continue that increasing of that strip, and I'm going to match it up to the previous side, the other side, the same amount of beads in the same spot. And the reason I start from the center to go back is this inside strap is shorter than the other side, so we want that design to match up in front. So, do my score stitch. Go back through. I'm just going to keep increasing that. So we're going to do the same amount of beads on each side, so it matches up. And then once we get to the same amount of beads, we're just going to go overlap outside in and inside out to start the next row. And then you just continue on with your design. Until you finish it to the end. Thanks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stop by and join our group. Please answer the questions or you won't get in. Or visit my website at www.quinwapawcreations.com. I hope you enjoyed this Zoom session, and like to see you next time.